Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, Leonardo da Vinci. And that's what we focus on here every day is simplicity, paying attention to what is real, and that is the reality of price movement and following trends. We have a simple and effective method to help you read the stock charts, to keep your emotions in check, and to learn when to buy and when to sell. And I want to give a shout out to all of our Patreon members. Don't forget, next Wednesday, that's the 10th. That is a week from today as I record this for you. The 10th of July, we will have at 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time, we'll have our call-in. I saw some new Patreons sign up over the last few days. We will include you. Thank you for your support. If you haven't purchased our book, everyone listening, I hope you will. Charting Your Way to Wealth. We're in our 11th printing. We send out autographed copies with a note that I personally signed to all of you, thanking you for your purchase and your support of the channel. That is the way we pay for all the bandwidth, the texting service, all the things that we have here for you. And we so appreciate you and your support. Want to wish everybody in the United States a wonderful Independence Day. And we are going to take a look at what went on this shortened trading day. Wednesday was a shortened trading day on the 3rd. Markets closed at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. They will be closed in the States on July the 4th, which is, of course, Thursday. And I've dated this recording for Friday the 5th. Now, we don't, again, probably be a light trading day. But again, markets will be opened. And after that, we will record our weekly review and forecast. And by the way, if you look in the show notes, if you're a subscriber, if you're not a subscriber, go to chartingwealth.com for free sign up. We do not spam that list. We only use it to provide you with our daily market reviews and once a week our comprehensive review and forecast. But you will see in those show notes highlighted, there's a special training for all of our subscribers on the weekly market review, weekly market worksheet, how to use that weekly market review, note it down, and actually expedite your training significantly. That is a free worksheet. You can print it out. We have bound copies in 3-month versions that we sell, but we give you the worksheets absolutely free. Want you to have that, want you to know how to use it. That video teaches you. We have one that I filled out, and then I show you what I filled out, why I have, looking back and forth between the worksheet and the charts, so you actually know what is going on. So let's jump into these charts. 10 to 15 minutes a day is all we ask for greatness. And that's what we're doing here, folks. We are teaching you to not be fooled by what you hear in the news, not to hear other people's opinions that may or may not be first true and may not even be honest. I mean, again, people get played all the time. Folks ask me, why do I hear all this great market news and when I go to trade on it, I get screwed? I said, because there's a little saying on Wall Street. There's a lot of sayings, but one of the ones that rings true over and over again is you buy on the rumor, you sell on the news. So by the time you see it on the news, the trade is gone. The people are making their money off the suckers who are jumping in. And we'll talk about suckers jumping in when we look at gold here in a minute, because we're hoping to jump into gold and not be a sucker and ride that baby up. But we're waiting for the charts to give us the signal. Let's look at the S&P 500 going into the 4th week of decent up movement, 2nd week following this latest weekly vertical crossover. We see that as far as this week goes, finally, the derivative oscillators decided to switch over to green. Looks like we're going to have a nice green up candle. We have one more day till this candle's drawn, but it's looking pretty decent. We go to the 2-day chart. What do we see there on the 2-day chart? Now remember, the last full 2-day candle finished drawing representing Monday and Tuesday. This is just the first day of the latest. And again, it's really not much more than a half-day candle so far, but we deal with it when we have these shortened trading days. What we see happening is the price percent oscillator is heading up quite nicely. Derivative oscillator is flat, but we have a nice green up candle. Prices above the 2-day and the weekly. And of course, what have we been looking for? We had things cross over going up in the afternoon on Monday. Then, of course, a potential jumping in point made itself available in the afternoon on Tuesday. That would have been somewhere around the opening, which was 295.16. And of course, things bumped up as all the way to 298.82. That alone, my friends, just using our standard method of waiting for the crossover. And of course, it was difficult because it came at the end of the day. And again, jumping in at the end of the day can be difficult. I do that sometimes around 3:30 when I know that it is a significant enough crossover and I feel comfortable enough doing it. The next morning, difficult to find the time to jump in. You can sure look at the market around 10:30 or so, jump in there, or you can wait until that candle successfully closes out. And of course, that would have been a jumping in point around noon at the opening at about 295.16, and again up over, well, almost $3 was where the high hit. So not bad. Closed the day at 298.80. That ain't bad, is it? For a day? Less than a day? Yeah, that's quite beautiful. So anyway, that's where things closed out. And that's where we are on that 4-hour chart. Now, those of you are saying, wait a minute, how is this, how does this work the way it works? Well, it works the way it works based upon, again, the way that they divide the chart up. Typically, that candle usually runs till about noon, and then from noon until the market closes. So again, it's not equally balanced, but we deal with things the way that we deal with things. And again, it works, and that's why we use it. Works quite nicely. So let's go back to the weekly chart, and we're going to head to the Qs. Q. What do we see going on the NASDAQ 100? We, of course, are in our 4th week of seeing things move up nicely on the NASDAQ 100. Looks like we might end this week finally with a crossover going up. It's taken it a while after that huge 5-week down move for us to get a weekly vertical crossover. May have that at the end of the week. Derivative oscillator still negative, so there's still some things hanging around, not positive yet. 2-day chart continues to move up again, moving up quite nicely. We can start trying to reestablish a 2-day trend line that gives us some kind of feeling, but of course we don't have a trade right yet on the NASDAQ 100 because the weekly's down. The 2-day is up. We go to the 4-hour chart. What do we see there? We see on the 4-hour chart things bumping up quite nicely. We had that crossover going up in the morning on Tuesday, the 2nd of July, and then a nice up day, 0.75% for the day. Again, beaten out by the S&P 500, 0.80% for the day. So again, waiting for things. Hopefully we will have a confirmed weekly vertical crossover by the end of the week. Guess what that means? It means 10:30 Monday morning on the Qs, you may possibly be looking to jump into a trade and ride the Qs higher. We'll wait and see. Don't call a candle till it's closed. That'll happen on Friday. Remember, markets are closed tomorrow. What do we see going on TLT, 20-year bonds? Well, doggone it, continuing to move up. In fact, this week has gotten better. Derivative oscillator is still losing some momentum, but that price percent oscillator moving up quite nicely. Go to the 2-day chart, and we can see where it's slowly pulling away from the red signal line and have a nice candle forming so far. First day of this latest 2-day candle. Derivative oscillator, instead of turning red, started to gain some energy. And again, up for the day, 0.71%. We go to from the 2-day to the 4-hour, and of course the last 2 days moving up quite nicely. I had pulled my trade back in the morning on the 1st, if I recall. I think it was on Monday that I had pulled that trade. Very concerned, of course, about what? Well, I'd already made my decision to jump in and was keeping my eye on the 2-day and the weekly and the 2-day was getting very close. Derivative oscillator had been losing momentum. Price percent oscillator sure looked like it was going to cross over going down. It's pulled away from that. So good, good. That is wonderful to see. And of course, I mentioned to you that we had the possibility for another jumping in point, which did make itself available when that 4-hour chart crossed over. And our jumping in point on the day was, of course, after the lunch hour. That was because we had a crossover in the morning. So the jumping in point somewhere around the opening at 133.40 or something along those lines. So hope that you were paying attention, watched that develop. I jumped back in on it. Now, lastly, we go to gold. We always start with the weekly chart. What do we see going on with gold? Bit of a pullback this week after a rocket week in the prior week. Price percent oscillator, of course, gave us a weekly vertical crossover back on the 7th of June. If you had jumped in at any point in time following that, of course, anywhere from the best point, which would have been the low at 123.49, the worst point at 127.63, you'd have been doing quite well, even with the pullback. Where did things end up? The last 132.46, a high over this past week of 134.10. So again, not bad as we look at that weekly chart and the magic of the weekly vertical crossover. We go from the weekly to the 2-day. And of course, we see where that pullback occurred. We can see that the price percent oscillator is still going up. Derivative oscillators losing momentum, forming finally a green candle after 2 days of down movement and squirreliness. Things started to recover. Things still in a confirmed up move on the weekly and the 2-day. But check this out. Don't have a crossover to get us back in for those of us who pulled out of gold after that rocketing down time in it. Well, what are we looking at happening now? Well, we're going to have to see gold break through. We can see where it touched up around the 134 mark or so, but just not enough energy to cross over going up. Maybe that'll happen on Friday. Maybe it'll happen over the course of this next week, but we need that 4-hour chart to cross over going up to get us back into gold to see if it's going to go higher, reach higher highs than, of course, it did when it popped up to a high of 135.55. So waiting for gold to clear on that 4-hour chart, jump in for that. Folks, that's where we are as we end the shortened trading day on Tuesday. As we go into, on Wednesday, as we go into Thursday, where the markets are closed in the States, and then ready for Friday. We so appreciate you being with us. You have questions, problems, concerns, pick up the phone. Get on your computer and email us. We're always happy to hear from you. And as far as picking up the phone, don't forget, Patreon members, we do have that live question and answer call in next Wednesday, the 10th of July at 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time. I've already sent out one notice. We'll send out another. If you're not a Patreon member, join. You can join us for that. Also, Patreon members need to hear from you what ETFs and stocks you would like me to review this month for you. That's a separate broadcast that I prepare for our Patreon members. If you haven't purchased the book, my friends, available to everyone, please buy it. Charting Your Way to Wealth. If you live overseas, email us, cw@chartingwealth.com. We'll send you a PayPal invoice. If you live in the States, of course, you can use the link in the show notes to purchase the book. For some reason, Square doesn't clear our foreign visitors' credit cards, but we're happy to send you a book out nonetheless. cw@chartingwealth.com. God bless, my friends. Happy holidays to everyone in the States and anyone else who's taking a holiday and or celebrating Independence Day for us. God bless, all the best from the whole team here at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.